Brad, welcome back. Long time no speak. All the way
It's
from...
great to be back.
Yeah, Toronto, Canada. I have been reneging you, as we say here, for a while. I've been... and it was only when I was reading something one night, my bedtime reading, I stumbled upon a story about a serial killer in Toronto, and I thought, how interesting. Let's get Brad on to talk about it, because it's your hometown and it's all actually very close to you, this story, isn't it? It's a little bit too close for comfort.
As close as blocks away.
Yeah.
Half a dozen blocks away. One segment, the other part was, 40 minutes away. You, of course, went to the falls with me, and then the other one's an hour or so away in Toronto.
So just start by telling us how unusual this kind of a thing is. For Toronto, it's quite a peaceful place, yeah?
Well, comparatively, yeah. I mean, the murder rate has gone up considerably, but, when you start comparing the murder rate in Toronto and Southern Ontario to similar sized places in the United States, it's not even the same ballpark. And, the homicide detectives in Toronto and in Southern Ontario, they're still closing 85% of their cases, whereas Chicago sometimes struggles to meet 25%. So, for instance, New York, which is the safest large city in America, has around 400 homicides per year. Toronto, with half the population, typically clicks in around 85 homicides a year.
And would they be gangland crime, a lot of them, or are they domestic?
Almost all are related to gangland, particularly street gangs, not your traditional mafia, because your traditional mafia has offloaded killing to street gangs in exchange for drugs or guns or money or whatever the deal is. So they don't really mess their hands in murder. I mean, up close and personal murder anymore. So it's very rare. And as you know, a female, suspected serial killer is even rarer.
Absolutely. Which brings us exactly on to this story that stopped me in my tracks of speed reading, whatever evening it was. But so tell us about this and what happened in your hometown. And we're bringing people back just to September, I think.
October 1st.
Okay.
Very close, yeah. On October 1st, a woman named Trinity Vu, she was in her 60s, was discovered stabbed to death. She had been sharing an abode with a woman named Sabrina Caldor, 30 years of age. And this was in the West End of Toronto. The landlord went down looking for something and discovered Ms. Vu's body, unfortunately, and she had been stabbed to death.
And just, in her home, is she sitting on a chair? Is there a sign of a struggle, or is it just sort of a strange scene?
No, a very strange scene. Just her, stabbed multiple times and lying on the floor. Fast forward to the next day. In a park in Niagara Falls, a man named Lance Cunningham, who I think was 48 years old, he was a chef at one of the casinos in Niagara. He went for a walk in a local park with his two dogs and came upon, allegedly, Ms. Caldor, and he was stabbed to death. He did not know her. It was completely random. The next day... go ahead.
And Brad, just going to say, for anybody who hasn't been, Niagara Falls is a really peaceful, beautiful place, isn't it? It's not like sometimes from a distance you hear about it and you think it must be some sort of a crazy, American Canadian theme park nearly. It's not like that at all. It's a beautiful kind of relaxing...
Yes.
It's sort of leafy suburbs. Wealthy area? It feels
comfortable.
that way. Yeah.
Let's say comfortable. That it's a comfortable area to live in. I mean, it's great because you're only an hour and 15 from Toronto, and you're like right on the border, so you can get to Buffalo for football games or whatever. And shopping and things like that, or the nightlife. So it's very close to the U.S. So, and despite it having a somewhat seedier side, that doesn't manifest itself in a whole lot of crime and violence. So this is completely random as well.
And it's also 80 miles away from the first murder.
That's correct. Yeah, 80 miles away from the first murder. And then the next day, on October 3rd in Hamilton, which is where I reside, not 6 blocks away or so from where you and I hoisted wine in my backyard, this man, retired school teacher, beloved school teacher named Mario Bilic, 77 years old, he would go to his club, Sicilian Men's Club, old school Sicilian Men's Club, and they go in there and they play cards and gossip and shoot the breeze sort of thing. And he came out, and on the CTV, you can see him being followed by this woman. Now, Mr. Bilic, sadly, was stabbed to death in that parking lot. And cops say that it's Ms. Caldor, and she had no connection with him either. And she was arrested several hours following the murder. So that's 3 homicides in 3 days from one person, and that typically classifies as a serial killer.
A serial killer, and seemingly motiveless.
Yeah, just I think she was, as the great New York Post writer Pete Hamill referred to it, she was a gray throbbing muscle of resentment and rage. She before this, I mean, there was nothing in her background really that speaks to these horrors. She grew up north of Toronto in a small town. Her parents were both dentists, so it was a very, comfortable upbringing. And she was all through high school, from people we talked to, she was a straight A student, fun, happy, and she was heavily involved in sports. She played high level hockey, and she was a high level figure skater as well. And if you've seen the pictures of her, you would not know it's the same person. There's nothing that indicates that this is the same person at all. I mean, sadly, we all gain weight, but she put on a lot of weight. She was a very very pretty girl as a teenager, and very healthy looking. And apparently, her former high school boyfriend told us that she had. When she went away to college, I guess the age-old tale of starting to run with the wrong crowd, developing some drug issues, and the accompanying mental health issues as well. Go ahead.
Terribly tragic for those 3 victims. I mean, going about their daily life and how quickly life can be taken. She is somebody, so she's been named because she's been charged with the 3 murders before the courts, but
That's correct.
The police, I mean, how long did the manhunt as such take? And after the first murder, was there a suggestion that they were looking for a woman? Was that first murder something that was very high on the news agenda? Or did it all happen so quickly that you're nearly at the end of the event with the suspect charged by the time you're kind of recognising these 3 murders are linked?
Well, that's it. The police news release cycle is often, 24 hours behind. So they find the first victim in the late afternoon sort of thing in Toronto, and they've got to investigate it, and they're not putting out that it's a homicide till the next day. And they're not even, they have an idea of who they might be looking for, but in these sorts of things, she'd, taken public transportation to Niagara Falls. And again, by then they were catching up, and she was arrested hours after the third murder. They got to her. They arrested her at a hotel in Burlington, which is across the bay from Hamilton, but that seemed to be her mode, was going by public transport and staying in hotels for those 2 days, and then she was nabbed.
Just an extraordinary story. How long will it take somebody in Canada to get to trial?
Probably, I would say 18 months to 2 years.
Yes,
but right now, the situation is that she's going into the mental health institute for examination. I mean, her lawyer is saying that she's incapable of understanding what's going on, and that may well be true. But I mean, she'd had a bit of an illustrious record before these terrible tragedies happened. I mean, wantonly punching people in the face on the street, and break and enters, and assaults and all sorts of stuff. So it was kind of seemed to be building up to that level, and but her landlord said she was quiet and never a problem. The only thing he noticed is that there would be half a dozen tall boy beer cans outside her apartment every day. Now, and she's been estranged from her family for a very long time as well.
So the landlord said she never bothered anyone. That's the classic line, isn't it?
Quiet,
yeah, quiet. You'd hardly have known she was there. Well, no, an extraordinary story, and I hope you'll go on to cover that, and we can catch up on it again. Before I let you go for the moment, because I want you to come back to us sooner than later with some more stories from your part of the world. But tell us about your meeting with a Crime World listener.
Yeah, this was pretty funny. My cousin Lee and I decided to grab a beer at a pub in the West End of Toronto. And as we do, we went outside for a fag. And so this Irish guy is out there, very friendly, chatting with us. And my cousin said, well, do you know who this is? and the guy said, oh, he looks familiar. And well, my cousin said, well, this is Brad Hunter. He's national crime columnist for the Toronto Sun. Oh, and all that sort of stuff. And I said, well, yeah. And I'm sometimes, not for a while, but sometimes I'm on Crime World. And he went, oh, Crime World. Do you know Nicola? I know Nicola very well. And we talked about the monk and the penguin for about 15 minutes, and he was very, very delighted that somebody in Toronto knew who he would be talking about.
Brilliant! I love it. You bonded over the monk and the penguin and various other characters.
And you.
Brilliant. Yeah. I'll need a nickname next. Well, look, that's a great story, and glad to hear that people are listening so far away. be they Irish or Canadian or whatever. We accept all nationalities. So look, you'll come back to me soon with some more tales from the streets of Toronto and beyond.
You will, and I will indeed. We will talk to you very soon.
Great. Thanks a million, Brad Hunter.
Take care, Nicola.